Hey guys, welcome back. This is Kevin Yates, and we are back for another episode of the Empowerment Principles. Now, it's been a few weeks since you've heard a podcast from me, and if you're wondering if I just somehow fell off the face of the earth, well, I'll tell you what I've been up to. I purposely was hiding out, kind of underground, so to speak, because I've actually been working on finishing my book, and I've had just this, felt like I've had this book inside of me for so long. And I was actually, to be honest, I was kind of procrastinating in writing it. So I finally made the decision to buckle down, sit down, and free myself of any distractions. And I just got to writing. So the book, I can't wait because it's going to be out in probably the next week, maybe 2 weeks at the most. I'm just finalizing a few things on the whole project and everything, but it's called The Dream Principles. And it's a book that is just about 5 fundamentals for reinventing yourself and going after your dreams in life, living life by your own rules. So, but when I was writing this book, I had some fears come up. I'll be honest with you. I had some fears that I was dealing with. And it's, probably some of those fears that you have experienced yourself at certain times in your life. Those ones where you're wondering, what are people going to say when I put this book out? What are people going to think? Is the message going to get across the way I want it to? Is it going to be criticized? Is it, what's going to happen with it? I mean, I had all of these different kinds of fears going on with me. Is it going to be good enough? Is it, whatever the case may be? So, I had to just kind of face up to it and deal with it. But I remember when I was dealing with these, over the last weekend, we were out at the pool and my daughter was swimming. And I mean, it was hot that day. It was like in the 90s, probably like 92 degrees outside, blazing hot. And my daughter loves to swim. She's 5 years old. She's going to be 6 this year. But she's swimming, and now she's finally big enough to where she can stand up in the shallow end of the pool, so she doesn't have to use her floaties anymore. And this summer, we're actually looking to get her swimming lessons. But for now, she's got to kind of tiptoe around in the shallow end of the pool. So what she was doing was she kept going, Dad, look, Dad, look, Dad. She wanted me to see her swim. And so what she would do is she would stand in one side of the shallow end, and then she would try to swim to the other side where the steps were. And as she was swimming, remember, she can't swim. So the whole time she's swimming, she's dog paddling, right? And she's just like paddling for her life, poor little thing. And I could just see, the look on her face. She's so determined to swim to the other side. But you know how it is, man. When you were learning how to swim and you were younger, if you can remember trying to dog paddle your way, it's exhausting. You're putting all this effort and energy to swim yourself to the other side to safety, and it's as if you're barely moving. You can't move fast enough. And that's what I'm looking at her, and I notice with her, she's paddling like that, and I'm trying to tell her, I'm calling out to her, and I'm telling her, Brianna, use your arms. And I'm trying to show her, because I'm standing right over the pool on the edge, and I'm trying to show her with my arms how to use them to do the swim strokes. And, she's just so focused on getting to the other side because she's in panic mode. When you're dog paddling, it's so hard to stay afloat. And the only thing that you could think of is survival. So that panic is actually fear-based. And that's what I noticed with her. So what I was trying to do was get her to relax a little bit and try to get her to take some strokes with her arms so that she wasn't in such a panic. But nonetheless, that's what it reminded me of when I was writing my book. I was dealing with these fears, and it's kind of similar to when you look at when you're going after a dream in your life. This is one of the dreams I had in my life, was becoming an author and writing this particular book. Like I said, it was something I had in me. But the thing is that when we're going after dreams in our life, because it's something that we haven't achieved before, so it's this uncharted territory. And anytime you're going into uncharted territory, it's like you're taking a trip into the valley of the unknown. And because we have no reference for what's going to happen there, it's unknown to us. We've never been there. We have no experience to refer to, so it can get scary. And that and then we get some fears that come up. It causes us to feel afraid. And it's perfectly normal. But the problem is that sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in this perpetual state of fear to the point where you never take action on going after your dreams in life, because every time you think about it, or every time you go to make one little start, that fear just grips you, and it just wells up inside you, and it can paralyze you into doing nothing. But the big thing as well with fear is that when you're constantly living in fear, it's like with my daughter. The fear in her made her dog paddle. And that dog paddling just used up all this energy, and she didn't really get very far. And it's the same thing when you're living in a state of fear. Well, fear, what is it? Fear is an emotion, and emotions use energy. They're so powerful, they really use a lot of energy within us. If you think about it, when's the last time that you really got mad about something? If you were just ever so frustrated or just pissed off at something, and you held on to that for so long, maybe like all day you were just pissed off about something, and at the end of the day, you notice, if you pay attention to how you feel, you pay attention to your energy levels, you just get drained. And so that's the thing when we're living in a constant state of fear and holding on to that fear and allowing it to keep us from going after our dreams in life, it exhausts us. It drains our energy. And then we don't even have the energy because it robs it away from you. And you don't even have the energy then to go after your dream anymore, even if you wanted to. So it's just like this cycle that over time depletes more and more from you. It just robs you of all your energy until you really have nothing left, until you basically just give up, right? And that's something that we don't want to do. I mean, this podcast is all about telling you about the importance of never letting go of those dreams. This is something I want to inspire you to stand up and reinvent yourself and live life by your own rules. Go after those dreams that you have. Now, I told you before, I even had the fears that I had when I was writing, my book here. And there's certain things in my life that I've done before. I mean, anytime I go into new territory, I feel fear. And it's not something that we need to try to repress. That's the point I'm trying to get across, is that if you're feeling any kind of fear, it's okay to feel it. Because fear, if you know how to use it, you can actually use it to propel you to success. You can use it as a way to motivate yourself. Because there's two ways that we're motivated. We're either motivated to achieve success, or we are motivated to avoid pain. And what's more painful than failure, right? Failure can trigger a huge feeling of pain within us that can spur you on to going after what it is that you want to achieve in your life. But you have to know how to use it. You have to be able to use it to channel you that way, rather than just getting stuck in your fears where it's like quicksand and you start drowning in them and you never get out of it. So it's a fine line, but you've got to really draw that line and take a stand. You draw that line and just say, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to stand up and face the fears that I have. A lot of times, the things that we are most afraid of happening, I mean, the only thing the reason why we're afraid is because we are imagining a certain outcome. It's in our mind. We start picturing the worst possible scenario that can happen, and we replay that tape over and over and over in our heads. But the funny thing about it is that most of the time, those things that we imagine, those worst case scenarios never happen. Our worst fears never happen. So we're sitting there, giving our lives away, being stuck in lives that are unhappy, unfulfilling, never going after what we want because we're afraid. Yet, the things that we're afraid of, those very things, most of the time never even happen. So we're living based on a boogeyman that doesn't exist. And it doesn't make sense, does it? It really doesn't. So like I said, you've got to just draw the line in the sand and make a decision to face those fears that you're feeling. Now, you don't have to face, if there's multiple things that you're experiencing fear over, you don't have to face them all at once. But you've got to choose one. You've got to just pick one and go after it and go up against it and be willing to accept that, hey, I'm okay. I'm going to feel afraid. That's okay that I feel this fear, but I will not cower down to it. I'm not going to allow this fear to keep me from moving toward my dreams in life. That's the difference. Allow that fear, allow yourself to feel it, but don't stay to the point where you're living in it. Feel it and move against it. Feel it and go after it. Go right up against it, head to head. And what you will find is that when you do that, that fear, number one, that worst thing that you're thinking that's going to happen, never really does. And two, it was just a big boogeyman. And once you face it, that fear that you had, you're going to look back and go, man, I don't feel it anymore. It disappeared. Because once you get there, once you go up against that fear and you conquer it, it doesn't exist anymore. And you start to realize, wow, you'll look back and think, I can't believe I was ever afraid to try this, but I'm glad I did. So that's what you're looking at. And once you do that, when you have less fear within you, then guess what happens to your energy? It starts to rejuvenate you. You start to gain more energy because you don't have that fear that you're holding on to that's constantly draining you like a vampire sucking your blood. All right? So you have more energy to spend on living your dream instead of just living in fear, being afraid all the time. And I think you'd agree that going after your dream and having the energy to fuel you toward it sounds like a much, much happier and a much better place to be than living in the constant state of fear. All right, so that's where I'm going to leave off for this podcast. And again, if you haven't connected with me yet, please go to my website at kevinryates.com. I've got a free audio program over there called the 5 Steps to Freedom. And that is the 5 keys to helping you overcome all of those, what we're talking about today, fear and negative thinking, self-limiting beliefs that are holding you back. And to help you overcome those and go after your dreams, to reinvent yourself, to go after the very things in your life that you want so bad right now. So go over to kevinryates.com. Go sign up for that and download it. It's free. And you can also connect with me on Facebook at facebook.com/Kevin Yates. And I look forward to hearing from you. I want to know how these podcasts are helping you. Are they empowering you? Are they helping you to move forward with what it is that you're after in your life? Are they helping you move toward your dreams? Have you taken steps toward achieving those dreams that you have? Have you taken steps toward reinventing yourself? Let me know what's going on. Let me know how this is helping you. Or let me know what type of issues that you're dealing with, and maybe I'll do a future podcast on that and answer some of those questions that you might be having or the concerns that you're dealing with right now, some of the biggest challenges that are there. All right, so until next time, this is Kevin Yates telling you to reinvent yourself and go live life by your own rules. Take care, and I'll talk to you soon.